Good to go?
Yep. Sure.
Cool. So here we are with Charlie Burke. How are you doing, my friend? How are you getting on?
Yeah, I'm really good. How are you?
It's always good, that sort of like, hey, how's it going? Kind of like, intro or a bit of fun. So before we get to cliches and stuff, did you see the UFC last night?
I did. I stayed up until Molly's fight. But yeah, I watched the rest of them. So a bit tired this morning. Had like 2 coffees to keep me awake.
It was an interesting card as well. I feel quite bad for the poor guys, like Fishy. Like, I'm not sure what happened with his weight cut or anything else, but he put on Instagram this morning that it wasn't a good representation of him. Like, do you train with like him and like Molly quite a bit?
Yeah, I know Fishy. I see him in the gym. Really nice guy. And I've seen him working hard in the gym. So yeah, it was just it was really sad to see. And especially with Molly, I train with Molly. She's one of my sparring partners. And we worked really hard in this camp. And yeah, it was just gutting to see. I'm still very gutted about it this morning.
I mean, this is it as well. When you're seeing someone, not only who's your friend, but your training partner as well, you see them compete, you get so like emotionally invested in. Like my teammate Modestas Bukowska's fought on the same card. And I felt like his girlfriend, for whatever reason, sort of like, oh no, is he okay? Is he okay? Kind of thing. You get all sort of all worked up and everything else. Which means you care. Like, what are you like on
there's just so many emotions. There's so many emotions that you go through. Like when you watch one of your friends fight, it's it's crazy. Like I'm sat there like shaking, like nervous, and then getting excited one minute, and then it's like a roller coaster of emotions.
What does your fight day compare to watching someone else's fight day look like, regards to your nerves and your energy and stuff? Are you bagging nerves when you're fighting? Are you like, all right? What's it like, the comparison?
I would say like the week running up to the fights, like fight week, I do tend to get sort of jittery nerves. I have a lot of dreams, like wake up in the night thinking about submissions and all sorts of stuff. And then come fight day, like once weighing's done, I'm actually fine. I'm pretty calm. And on the fight day, warming up, you do tend to get little butterflies and a few nerves, but I think that's it's all part of it. But as soon as I hear the walkout music and stuff, that's it. Like I'm in the zone then. I don't have any nerves or anything. I'm fully concentrating.
So when you said it was quite interesting the way you were saying about like dreams and stuff, like sort of stress dreams and stuff. Are you quite a visual like learner? Do you get quite engaged with that kind of thing? Are you very much like, I don't know, you visualize what the fight's going to end up like, or is it a case of you, I don't know, how do you deal with visualization and stuff?
Yeah, so when the fight first gets announced, I tend to go over it in my head. And my wife always laughs because she'll be talking to me and I'll just zone out completely. And she's like, you've not even listened to what I've said. I'm like, sorry, I'm just thinking about how the fight could go. And, even when I'm driving the car, I'll be driving and I'll think about a submission or something and I'll like accidentally like turn the wheel a little bit. And she's like, oh, what are you doing? You think about jiu-jitsu again? I'm like, yeah, I know.
You just like start shrimping in the car, just trying.
I am like a very sort of visual person. Like when it first gets announced and during fight week, that's when I tend to have those sorts of dreams or, thinking a lot more about it.
When it comes to that kind of anxieties, I want to say, how do you deal with that? Do you speak to people? Do you just try and I can't get the words like compartmentalize kind of things? Do you try and like put things in certain boxes? How do you like to process these kind of emotions?
I just try and think positively throughout. I don't think about losing, so I just visualize myself winning, and how I'm going to win. I don't ever think about what if they do this and I get caught in this. I don't. I just try and keep calm, just think positive, really.
I mean, that's what you want as well. And like when it came to you starting like MMA and jiu-jitsu and everything else, how did you find, I don't know, that competitive kind of spirit? Have you always been quite a competitive person? Is it something that's really come out in the sport itself? Like, what was it like getting stuck in the first place?
I've always been quite sporty from a young age. Like during high school, I was on the netball team, football team, athletics team, cross country team. Like I've always done some sort of sports. I've always had that competitive streak in me. And then I moved to Manchester, so I did a little bit of kickboxing for about a year, not competitive. And I also did karate from about the age of 6 to 10 years old. But when I moved to Manchester from Leeds, I was looking for a kickboxing gym just to keep fit. And I came across this MMA gym, and I was like, I don't even know. I'd never heard of MMA. So I went, and they were like, oh, give it a go, try it out, see what you think. And they were like rolling on the floor, and I'm like, what is this? And I sort of like stuck with it, and I just that was it. I was hooked. And it was never something I really thought about competing. And then I just kept with it, and I just found myself getting better and better. And I was like, do you know what? I do want to compete in this. It is something I really want to do.
Now, with jiu-jitsu being as hands-on as it is, how did you find being in that environment? Obviously, like, we have teammates like Molly McCann and everything else. It's very much, I don't know, the norm now, but the initial was it quite intimidating? How did you find getting into that kind of environment?
Well, yeah, I mean, it was weird getting sort of like, up close and personal with people that you don't know, and you don't know what you're doing either. So, you're brand new. And yeah, I remember my first class just being very, very bizarre and thinking, what am I doing? But I was like, no, you need to give it a chance. And because I was new to Manchester, I wanted to meet new people and friends. So I was like, no, you need to put yourself out there. But yeah, like I stuck with it, and now I absolutely love jiu-jitsu. Like, it is one of my strengths. So I'm happy I stuck with it.
So coming into like Manchester then, where did you start training in the first place then? Because were you initially at Next Gen Liverpool then, or were you still ASW? Where were you at that point?
No. So I went to Salford MMA under Darren Sherlock. I was there for about 9 months, 10 months. And then I went to Saul Rogers for about 2 months. And yeah, I didn't really want to do the commute to Saul's, even though it wasn't that far, but I just didn't want to do the commute. And I heard about one MMA opening in Salford, which was literally around the corner from my house. And someone recommended it and said, why don't you try there? And I've been there ever since. So, I don't know, I think it's been like 4 years now or something.
Can't be that bad then.
And then, yeah, like I love all the guys there, and Pietro's really supportive, and my other coach Dre, so they are really good for me, and they put a lot of time and investment into me. And then Pietro moved gyms. He's now at Next Gen, and he mentioned saying, "Do you want to come over sparring?" They've got a girl there, Molly McCann. Have you heard of her? And I was like, of course I've heard of Molly. So I went over, sparred with Molly. Really nice lass. Really good on first meeting, and then I've just been going sparring there ever since as well.
So what was it like sparring with Molly initially? Because again, normally what you'll hear a lot of when it comes to women in MMA is they'll come in, they'll spar with people, and end up going a bit harder to sort of almost prove their place as such. But once you're both in that same kind of boat, how did you find? I don't know. Was it a case of trying to take each other's heads off, trying to like say, "No, I'm the one here"? Or is it a case of trying to help each other as such? Like, what was the initial? I don't know. Mean like.
So I remember Molly coming up to me on first meeting, and she introduced herself as Meatball. I was like, yeah, I'm Charlie. And she said, and when we were going to go sparring, she just went, just go for it. She went, just show me no respect, just absolutely go for it. And I was like, oh wow, okay. Anyway, I remember coming away from that session being absolutely buzzing. And we had a good laugh and things. And I knew I just wanted to go every week then. And now when we spar, it's every week, like, it's weird. Like, we all say it, but like we get like nervous to spar each other just because we know it's going to be hard spars and it's going to be really good spars for our camps and things. But yeah, like it's just great having someone like Molly, to look up to and get advice off and be able to train with her.
I mean, this is it. She's truly a good role model for women's MMA, especially in the UK, because I mean, it's the most kind of like organic, natural person you're going to find as well. It's someone who, is no bells and whistles. It's very much, okay, this is who I am. This is what I'm doing. This is how I've got here. It's like, okay, this is what you want. A lot more like genuine. I think that's really why she resonates with a lot of people. And when it comes to her camps and everything else, do you try and emulate certain styles? Are you just trying to do the best version of you? How would you like to, I don't know, contribute without steering too far away from who you are as such?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, I just go and do me. Other times, depending on if Molly's in a camp, we might try and work on things that she wants to look at, in terms of what our opponents are like. We just sort of feel it out each week. So depending on how many rounds she wants to do or whatever, that's what we'll do. But if I'm in a fight camp, same with Molly, like Molly will be, pressing me and, if there's anything I want to work on in particular, or if there's any weaknesses of mine, we'll work on that as well. So, we do help each other out when we go from camp.
What does a camp look like for you? Is it pretty full on, like 2 days? Are you working? What's your usual schedule like?
Yeah, so I work full time. And Monday to Friday, and then I've got my daughter as well. So it is difficult, but I've got a supportive wife as well. So she'll take care of my daughter a lot of the time whilst I'm out in the evenings, and I know it can be a pain for her, especially because she's at that toddler stage and it's quite annoying. But she also understands that I do need to get in the gym. I need to be working. Sometimes I'll book days off work as well, to go, or my manager will sort of say, you can go and do some sparring in the morning. So yeah, I do have quite a lot of flexibility, even though I have a lot going on, in my life. I do get into training, and I do work hard.
I mean, this is where the question really comes from, because again, if you're training with a full-time athlete, expecting their kind of standards of, okay, there's Molly, she's training every hour of the day, she's, full-time fighter, this is it. Whereas you've got other commitments and everything else. It's then trying to emulate that kind of, okay, this is my capacity for my time and trying to get the most out of that. And like, I don't know, how do you find having energy? Because again, having like, the real world fight camp of having responsibilities and being a parent and everything else, and also being a wife and everything else, to try and like also have to be a fighter and have the energy in that. How do you find dividing the energy up?
It is really difficult. It is one thing that I keep saying, I might have to go part-time soon. I keep saying to my missus, like, you're going to have to break some money from somewhere, like get a promotion. But yeah, I do find it difficult. I am torn sometimes between, coming home and seeing my daughter and making, tucking her into bed and things like that. Those are things I do miss during a camp. And some days, I will take a day off. Why not? To spend time with my family. But yeah, it can be difficult finding the balance. It is something I do struggle with, but you just have to make the best of the situation. And I do want to fight. Maybe in the future I can drop some hours at work. But I'm not looking to right now. Maybe when I go pro, then I will, look at dropping some hours and making more time.
I mean, that's it as well, especially when it comes to like AMI days as well, you're not really getting paid to make the sacrifices. Like you got to try and prioritize you as well with this. When you get pro, then you can sort of make an argument, and it gets so sort of, I don't know, it's so thankless. Like no one does this to get paid until you get to a point where you can get paid. Like you've got to prioritize you out of all of this sort of stuff. And when it comes to your out of the gym kind of like learning and like stimulus and stuff and your like development, do you, being quite visual, like we're saying about the sort of dreams and everything else, do you watch a lot of tape? Do you watch a lot of footage? Are you very much a lot of YouTube? You got like rabbit holes? Are you sort of on your own world? What's your like, I don't know, preferred way of getting the most out of your sessions?
I mean, I will have a look at my opponents, not too much. I don't want to like obsess over it. It's I'll have a look and see what they're about. But I just try and concentrate on my weaknesses, and just sort of, I don't really have a game plan. I just sort of go in there and just try and be the best version of me.
Just plant your feet and swing.
And what will be. Yeah, I don't try and obsess. I mean, I think I did once. I was looking at videos, a lot of one opponent, and I just ended up just sort of driving myself insane. So I try not to do that anymore. I just try and do me.
And that's the best way to be as well, is trying to have that kind of balance. Because same with like social media, it's like, okay, this is your opponent, and now they've gone from someone at a similar level to some sort of like super athlete who can do everything and there's no wrongs and all this kind of stuff. You think, okay, this isn't healthy for anyone. And it is such a thing. So when it comes to the upcoming grappling match in Empire, how do you treat that kind of situation? Do you have the same kind of, I'm going to use the word respect, the same way you do for like an MMA fight? Like, again, it's a grappling match, but also it's a fight in its own regard. How do you find giving it that same level of, I don't know, I'm going to use the word respect still.
I mean, I'm going into this grappling match, just like I say, just doing what I do. There's no change. I know that Dakota's going to be a tough opponent. I'm not going in there thinking, oh, this is going to be easy. It's not. I know it's not. No fight's ever easy. But I'm confident with my skill set in jiu-jitsu. So I'm just going to go out there and do what I do in the gym day in, day out. There is no change. I'm not feeling too nervous about it. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
I mean, there's a lot of people listening as well, very envious of being able to grapple and being able to compete as well. I mean, how did this sort of opportunity feel sort of getting it again? Because obviously everyone's been locked in obviously with pro guidelines and stuff, but almost back to reality. How do you feel being able to compete again and a sense of normality?
Oh, it's great. When I got the message from Jake Cross asking, if I wanted to compete, I was buzzing. I was like, yes. He wanted to do something for people that have been working hard during lockdown, and he could see that I have been working throughout lockdown. I've got my housemate here with me as well, so that's made it a lot better for me. Megan Morris, so she's living here now. So having someone in the same household that I can just do pads with or roll around with or go running, it has been a massive help. So to be able to get in and compete again, it's great.
And when it comes to, I don't know, because when it comes to this sort of divide of, okay, this is sort of life as we know it, then training gets sort of put on the back burner because of, everything going on. Obviously people do their own home training, but again, it's that same level of, it's not the same. How do you find, I don't know, keeping that, honestly, identity as well? Because again, you've got so much going on. This is just another big part of your life. And that if it could be taken away like that, how do you find having that as I don't know, how do you see MMA at that point? Is it a career for you? Is it, can you hear me?
But yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, the signal cut out, so I'm not sure where we were at that point.
But yeah, I was just saying about, it's only sort of the last 6 months I thought about going pro, after having talked to my wife and other people. And then there was also the thing of, do I want a child? I'm 29 now, and do I want to have a child myself? And after multiple conversations, I did actually realise, no, do you know what? Like, I want to do MMA. MMA is good for me. It keeps me grounded. It keeps me motivated. And it's one thing that's kept me going throughout lockdown. At the beginning of lockdown, I was really struggling. Put on a lot of weight. I was drinking a lot. Had a lot of issues with alcohol. I just wasn't ever in a very good place mentally. And so, jiu-jitsu and MMA, it's pulled me through a lot of tough times that I've had.
Now, there is a lot in that's really interesting. And one of those things in that is, I don't know, that sort of loss of meaning as such, because again, as much as what's going on in your world has its own importance, this other big stake of, okay, this is a huge part of how I identify as, is sort of being taken away and thinking, okay, my platform to sort of express all this has then been taken away. I've got all this energy, all this frustration. This is my sort of, I don't know. Okay, so this is like the good part of life. This is everything else. But then all the stress from that gets put into MMA and jiu-jitsu, and it's all burnt out. And this is my nice little flow system. But then that flow system's kind of like, disrupted. It's then trying to rebuild that. When it came to rebuilding that, did you find other ways of, I don't know, because obviously you get the being under the influence of, alcohol and whatever else to try and just, I don't know, just deal with life in the way you had to deal with it at that point in time. Did you find anything else for yourself, any sort of other hobbies or any other interests or anything you can else to express that kind of feeling? Or is it more or less sort of scratching down the days until it's time for the gyms to reopen? What was your kind of approach with that?
I was doing exercising throughout lockdown. So, after all my problems with the alcohol and things, I got in contact with one of my sponsors, KT Personal Training, and I asked her to do like an online program with me. So she gave me exercise programs to do. She was watching my diet, doing weekly check-ins and things like that to make sure my weight was coming off. And then I was going running, I was cycling. So, I did find other things to keep me busy. But yeah, it was very difficult, like when you can't go anywhere and you're only allowed to, when we're only allowed to exercise once a day outside and things like that. It really, I'm sure it got to a lot of people, but yeah, it really got me down. But I just managed to pull through and had a bit of a word with myself, and my wife had a word with me, and I just managed to get through it.
And that's a huge part of this, is being able to rebuild these structures and be able to, I don't know, find yourself is a bit of a cliche sort of term, but more a case of, okay, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is how I deal with things, and then trying to, okay, appreciating the support networks you actually have. You thought I'd be able to speak having a podcast, but here we are. You have these sort of support networks of, okay, people around you who can help build you up and help, I don't know. And it's good that you managed to take that responsibility for how you were feeling and being able to address that. Because many people are quite happy to play the victim card of, okay, I'm going to wallow now, it's my turn to have a little cry and a bit of a sulk, and this is the end of that. But no, it's good that you were able to readdress that. Yeah. And it's interesting what you sort of touched on there about the conversations, the real conversations about having like kids yourself as well. Because when it comes to weight cutting, especially when it comes to women's MMA, I'm not a doctor, by the way. I'm not going to sell myself short here. I'm not going to put my doctor up, but I don't really understand the intricacies of, fertility. But I've been told many a time that apparently weight cutting affects that quite a lot. And it's a conversation a lot of female athletes have to have that throughout their kind of career. On top of the time restraints, is also that kind of thing. Like, I don't know, but do you cut a lot of weight anyway? Is it something that's a bit of a factor?
I have had rough cuts in the past, like to the point where I've been dry heaving into a towel. Like my chest has been hurting. It's been horrendous. And obviously it messes with your cycles and things like that. As women, it does mess with your cycles. It is rough for women to cut weight. Like I'll be going to the sauna with the guys, and they'll have more to cut than what I do, but they'll be breezing through it, and they'll make weight before I do. It is a lot harder, and it does play on my mind. Doing all these cuts, is it going to affect my chances of being pregnant? I don't know. I do want a kid one day. Another child. Sorry.
Because like good save.
Yeah, and it is. It's not a massive deal if I don't, to be honest. But yeah, I would like to one day. I've just got some fight left in me yet, so we'll see. We'll see.
That's a good save, love that. It is an interesting conversation, and again, it's so important to have these things as well. Like I said before, and before we start, it's anything like this where you're not comfortable talking about. I'm happy just to take out, but I appreciate you being honest with this kind of stuff, because again, a lot of female athletes are going to have these conversations with themselves and not with other people, and they need to have these, although the awareness that there's a real thing, and like these are conversations people need to have about, okay, if this is something you're going to consider, this is a factor that's going to come with that, and being able to accept that and understand that. And regards of your wife and your training, you're competing, how does she feel about you actually fighting? And obviously seeing you, fighting someone in the cage, how does she find seeing that? Is she okay? Like, or she'll close her eyes and pretend it didn't happen? What's the kind of like reaction to that?
Oh no, she'll literally get front row. She's brutal. She's very supportive. Like she does have a moan every now and again when I'm out, which is understandable. But nah, she's like my biggest supporter. She does a lot of my meal preps, things like that. She'll kick me out of the house when I say, "Oh, I can't be bothered tonight." She'll go, "No, you're going." But when it comes to fight night, she does go through like a lot of emotions. Like she'll be nervous. She'll be shaking, if I've lost, she'll be crying, I'll be fine. Like, she goes through a lot of emotions.
Now, when it comes to that divide between, okay, you've got your relationship, you've got your relationship with fighting, and this Venn diagram of, okay, this is the middle bit where, your wife's been compliant. She's like, okay, you've got your camp, we're going to like play nice, we're going to get on with it. Now it's time to live life outside of that. How do you find that sort of, I don't know, that divide to being a normal like family to, okay, we're a fighting family, this is what I've got to do, this is salad and rice, we're going to go for a run, and this, that and the other?
Yeah, it is difficult to get a balance. I do struggle with that still, and I do try and make time, or we'll agree each week, okay, this is what days I'm training, so she knows exactly what days I'm training. And then I make sure that I do take the time out to, spend time on the evening, or put Evelyn to bed, or, go pick her up from nursery, things like that. But we do have like each week she'll say, right, I need to know what days you're training so I don't get mad, because she does get mad if I don't tell her. Because otherwise she'll expect me to be home helping out, and then I'm like, oh, bye, I'm off.
The odd random D session. Oh, so I've got to go do some rolling. I'll see you later. So the dishwasher needs
exactly,
nice.
Exactly. Yeah, she gets really annoyed. So like I have to tell her. So you can tell who wears the trousers in this relationship anyway.
Again, a good save. Now, most important question of the podcast: where can people find you in the old social media?
Where can people find me? So you can find me on Instagram, Charlie Burke MMA, Chubby Knuckles, my fight name. Add me on Facebook if you want. Anyone who's into MMA, I'm always up for people on Facebook. Charlie Burke. I'm not on Twitter. I wouldn't even know where to start with Twitter.
Cool. That'll all be in the